Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Reading Rule, y'all. I'm your host, Dr. Shay Parton, and in this week's episode, I'll be talking about how place functions and features in The Gone Away Place by Christopher Barzak. If you watched or listened to the last episode, you know that The Gone Away Place is a fictionalized version of an actual event that Barzak wrote to help him process the tornado outbreak of 1985 and the tsunami in Japan in 2011, both of which deeply impacted people he loved. So, place and landscape and climate and natural disasters all play a huge role in the foundation of this story. And because of that, place and descriptions of Newfoundland play an integral role in shaping the story, as well as how they offer readers entry into the world of the story. I'll talk about three main things. The first one is, there are frequent mentions of the rural landscape and the ways it was marred and altered by the tornadoes. For example, on page 55, Ellie says, I watched the passing scenes of what would ordinarily be peaceful fields of new corn growing taller and cringed at the way entire fields had been decimated. The earth turned up like God's own plow had pushed through them. Telephone and electrical poles had fallen onto some of them, one after the other, like crosses snapped at their bases. All gone, I kept thinking as Mom drove past the wreckage. All gone. The second one is that there are small and seemingly innocuous descriptions of ghost sightings and general descriptions of the rural landscape. At one point, Ellie's dad sees the ghosts of two of her best friends walking through a hayfield before they crossed the road, stepped down into the ditch on the other side, then came up into the soybean field on the other end. This may seem like a small thing, but knowing exactly what this landscape looks like because of where I grew up and not seeing it very often in books made reading things like this really exciting for me. While it may be a small detail in the story, it was really important to me and helped me fully enter into the world of the story. But number 3 is the main place-based aspect that I wanted to focus on for this video. And it's the story around Newfoundland's Lighthouse. Because Newfoundland, Ohio is landlocked, it doesn't really make any sense for it to have need of a lighthouse. But it does, because the founder of Newfoundland wanted to make his wife feel more at home in Ohio's foreign landscape. The text explains. I think this is Ellie's perspective. Ellie tells the story. The Newfoundland Lighthouse isn't a true lighthouse. It's really just an old tower that looks like one. It's a replica of a lighthouse the founder of Newfoundland had built back in the mid-1800s before moving his new wife to this patch of earth he'd claimed. She'd been the daughter of a shipping merchant in Boston and was used to standing by a lighthouse near her childhood home, watching her father's ships come into the shore. Ephraim Key had the lighthouse built as a wedding gift, so that when she arrived, she'd have something in this oceanless place to remind her of home. In the story, the lighthouse is a symbol of love. It feels significant to me that it's the lighthouse that provides Ellie safe passage through the storm. She was in Newfoundland, but in a way, she wasn't, because she was in the lighthouse, which was meant to be a reminder of another place and time entirely. She was there and not there all at the same time. And that's how I feel a lot as an out-migrant. I'm home, but I'm not home every day. Even when I go back to where I grew up, I'm home, but I'm not home. Because the home that I know, or that I knew, doesn't really exist anymore. It also reminds me of the ways that my dad's family looked for places that reminded them of Tennessee when they moved to Indiana, trying to find houses near hills or going back for vacation and to build cabins near where they grew up. And even my own tendency to look for a place that feels like home here in Texas, choosing to buy a house 70 miles away from campus largely because they grow corn here and there's a soil research center not too far down the road. In this way, the lighthouse helps us see the connections between time and place, the way some things, some geographical markers persist where others don't, the way places can become fused through memory and story despite being built so long ago, and maybe most especially, the way we keep those stories alive, preserving the connection and making it meaningful for our own senses of home and place and self. In these ways, the place of this text is important not only for the shaping of the story, but how we continue to story and build our own identities through our reading of it and of our connection to it. As always, there's a lot more I could say, but I won't. Suffice it to say that I see why the Gone Away plays won the Whippoorwill Award. There's a lot of complex thinking to be done here, and I hope you pick it up to engage with it and recommend your students do the same. That's it for this time. Next week, I'll talk more about my reactions to the book as a rural reader. Thanks for tuning in. Y'all come back now, would ya?